My boyfriend's mother tried to kick me out of my apartment building during my grandmother's funeral. She didn't know I owned the entire property. I inherited the small apartment complex from my grandmother who raised me after my parents died. It's a beautiful old building with 6 units. I live in one and I've kept the rent affordable for the other tenants, mostly older folks who've lived there for years. 3 months ago, my boyfriend Mark moved in with me. His mother, Patricia, has always made it clear she thinks I am beneath them because I work as a nurse instead of having a prestigious career like her son's law practice. Last week, my beloved grandmother passed away. She was my last living relative and losing her devastated me. The day of her funeral, I asked Mark to handle the building maintenance while I was at the service. Apparently, his mother decided to surprise him with a visit. When I returned home from the funeral, exhausted and grief-stricken, I found Patricia in the hallway arguing with Mrs. Jenkins, my 78-year-old tenant. Patricia was telling her that changes were coming and rent would be increasing. I approached and asked what was happening. Patricia turned to me with this smug smile and said, "Oh good, you are back. I was just explaining to the tenants that now that Mark lives here, this building will finally be run properly." I was confused. "What do you mean?" "Well," she continued, "Mark told me this old place belongs to your family. Now that you two are together, it makes sense for him to take over management. These rents are ridiculously low for this neighborhood." She then looked at my red puffy eyes and funeral clothes and added, "Also, your apartment is way too large for one person. We'll be converting part of it into an office for Mark's remote work. I am thinking the second bedroom where you keep your grandmother's things." Something snapped inside me. Through clenched teeth, I said, "Patricia, I just buried my grandmother. This is not the time." She rolled her eyes. "This is exactly the time. You need to be practical. Mark needs to establish himself as a building manager. His name should be on everything." That's when Mark appeared in the hallway looking horrified. "Mom, stop. What are you doing?" I turned to Mark and then back to Patricia. "Mark isn't going to be managing anything. This building doesn't belong to my family. It belongs to Emmy. I own it. Petuls, and the only person whose name will be on anything is mine." Patricia's face went pale. But Mark said your grandmother owned it?" "She did, and she left it to Emmy when I was 25. I've been the sole owner for 3 years." Mrs. Jenkins was trying not to smile. The other tenants had gathered in the hallway by this point. Patricia stammered, "Well, as Mark's mother, I am just trying to help secure his future and Kanara cut her off. As the owner of this building and the person who just lost her grandmother today, I am asking you to leave." Now, she left. Mark apologized profusely. "We're working through it, but I've made one thing crystal clear. This building, my inheritance and my grandmother's memory are not up for discussion."